Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. This week has been wild, unexpected. We started out with 100 player servers, and then it was 105, 110, 120, and you have content creators making all sorts of one-upping each other on I had 100 players over here, I did 100 players doing this, I have 100 players doing that, and here we are. I will start out with, I thought this was a terrible idea because over time we've seen as the server cap got higher, like you would start out on a server with 3 people, it was great. When you hit 10 to 15 people, it started getting worse, and then 50 people, it was terrible, right? Why would 100 be good? And I just thought it was a bad idea, and I definitely saw a lot of content creators like kind of pushing the narrative of 100, 100, 100, more, because it was easier to make content, it was better, and all those things going on there. And I was pretty much against it. I thought it was a really bad idea. But the experience that I've had has been a little bit different than that. Small sample size, but yesterday I was on, I think there was above 100 players on my server, at least 80. And I was bounty hunting, but I wasn't bounty hunting NPCs. I was bounty hunting players, and I was coming across players more often, and it enhanced the experience. Ship combat felt good. FPS combat was incredibly desynced. I had a scenario where I watched a guy's downed marker kill me, right? The guy was downed, it disappeared, and then he killed me. And we both downed each other. It was just really bad desync, and I imagine that had something to do with not only the stuff that they're working on, but the player caps. So I've had good experiences, I've had bad experiences, and this is an open forum podcast. And this is not where content creators can get really loud and speak over just general people from the community. I like to bring on whoever pops in first and share their opinions on these things. We're going to try and keep the calls pretty short because I don't think we could talk long on this subject with each individual, but it is interesting. So our first caller is Goldwep. We're going to bring him in and see their experiences, what they think. Should we do it? Should we not? So on and so forth. Goldwep, what's up, man? How's it going?
Hey, what's up, man? You got me? I'm good.
I hear you perfect.
Awesome. I guess just getting right into it with the large servers. I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and start with what I personally experienced. I've kind of hopped in the PTU 2 or 3 times in the last week.
Okay.
I got in there to like a 110 person server.
Okay.
And I totally agree with what you saw, where like ship combat's like solid. I'm getting a lot more people that I'm just seeing in general, and that definitely helps with the feeling of the PU right now.
Sure.
My big issue is, as you experience, is that you suffer in gameplay, right? So it's like they're going back to doing this thing of, oh, we're gonna push the envelope, we're gonna get this big number, we're gonna make this milestone, but it's gonna suck, right? And it's just, that's always going to leave sour taste in people's mouths, especially when a patch like 317.2 is like really important for the push, quote unquote, to like 318.
Can I pause you there for a second? Because there's just one thing that I missed in the beginning.
Yeah, go for it.
I think we should always, take CIG and use their words and not make up our own as content creators. And what Jake posted earlier in the week was, I wish I had his exact words. I don't have them up right now. I should have been a little bit more prepared. But it was basically, this is just a test, and essentially, like, servers have virtual machines, and every time you spin up another server, it's spinning up another virtual machine. So the idea of taking the player cap and doubling it would mean it would have the number of virtual machines their servers are running, because it would have to open up less servers or less virtual machines. That was the idea behind this test, was to seeing if they can improve some issues that they were having, essentially. And I don't know what the results are, and I think uh, I'm sure I'll touch on it later, but I think the core of the issue here is of why content creators are yelling about we need this, we need this, we need this. Is it's not just content creators. I think largely the community doesn't have a lot of faith in the game developer to make the right decision because they feel like they haven't made the right decisions in the past. I have the confidence that they'll take the data and do the right thing for them, and that'll be that. But I am a little worried that they'll get too into this sensationalism that's happening at the moment and then do the wrong thing because I feel like they've done that in the past. But yeah, continue, Goldwep. I apologize for interjecting there.
No, 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 you're absolutely good. It actually kind of ties into where I was wanting to go with it.
Okay.
I do see how this. I think that another thing of what they're testing, and one thing that I thought of while you were doing the intro for this was we're currently running off of one server, and it was able to relatively handle that 110, 115 player count thing across the entire Stanton system. I actually see that as a potential huge good sign of when we get this first implementation of like static server mesh and with PES. So
Hmm.
again, we're running on one machine, and if they just have the number of VMs like double player count, and we were still working, relatively fine. Um, their goal is to get it so that one server is handling a location of a certain scale. And again, like I said, we're each server is running the entirety of Stanton with everyone across the entire system, and you get FPS issues, but ship issues are minimal. So I actually see that as a good sign of where we might be looking into the future of static server and everything else just off
Sure.
of this test.
Yeah, I think it was obvious by the way you said it, but just to be sure, you just randomly joined a server and it happened to have a lot of people on it, so people were just generally
Yeah,
playing the game, right? It wasn't
yeah,
necessarily um, let's put all these people into one place kind of server thing because that is basically if we're all in one place, then the server should stream out all the places that you're not at,
hmm,
and things should just work better for you in the place that you're in. Uh,
yeah.
so as long if people are spread out, it does really show that like yeah, it can handle it decently enough.
And I mean, I think a good thing with what we saw with Morph's video on him putting that hundred and some people in one ship, that's also like a tie-in of like that is a milestone, and people are like you said,
Absolutely.
sensationalizing it. But I mean, that's where we're going,
I mean, it
right?
is sensational, right?
Yeah,
Like all
yeah,
all the things that
absolutely.
have happened are sensational, but I just don't want to get hung up on them because they're experiences the average Star Citizen player will not experience.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
they're
definitely.
an
Unless you have an
experience.
org or
Yeah, it's an experience only 100 and so people can have with only a few individuals.
and it only happens once. You get that feeling once of being like, "Oh man, this place is
W-
packed.
World
What
first.
next?
Yeah, what do we
What
do now?
next?" Um,
Exactly.
yeah, the flip side of that positive that I just had was I think that FPS, my big issue was the FPS experience that I had because of course me and a couple of my friends that I had and a couple of my org guys had worse experiences than you were talking about. Like we were back to like the 315, 314 days of like not
Yeah.
seeing the other person standing there on planets at some
Hmm.
points. It's like, and that's just where you see the spaghettification possibly or the stress just not we're seeing old issues. And that has always been the thing on Spectrum of people you've seen it, I've seen it of, oh, why haven't you fixed this? Why aren't you guys prioritizing this thing? Blah blah blah. But now that we're looking at this milestone in the face and seeing those like big old shadows from the early three dot strings,
Yep.
at the 318 PTU is going to be a mess, even more than I think what everyone's expecting just off the back of this.
Yeah. And I well, I mean, I think you kind of bring up a whole and another point is that like not only is this okay, doubling the server count is like, or the player count in a server is, yes, I've had like a decent experience now. But since you mentioned 318, the next thing I think about is like, well, 4.0 is next, and they're just going to triple or double the the playing field.
Double down.
So now we'll have 100 players, and well, I guess never mind. I'm stupid because that by that point server meshing will be in, and there should be 100 players capable to be in Pyro, and 100 players capable to be in Stanton, or even 100 players around certain planets and so on. So yeah, never mind. I take that back. That was just silly for me. The I don't know. It's just in general, you're right, and I wonder what knock-on effects these things will have. The thing that I'm scared about is that is it the 100? What we don't know is, are the issues we're seeing in FPS related to the 100-player server caps? We had them at 50 players with this whole desync. Every patch in 3.17.2, additional desync fixes to FPS, additional desync fixes to FPS, and it's just crap the whole time. Sure, players aren't stuttering as much, but in some scenarios, but then it's really bad in others, and it's hard to tell, is this a too many players on a server related issue, or is it just generally their the work that they're doing on that individual problem that they've come across?
Yeah, I think it actually might be a string of both, where I think in the patch notes everything we see with fixed FPS desync, as you were saying, I think they're nailing the things that they can get. So like the overall number of issues that we see is lower. I will admit I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have as many issues in general, but the ones that I had were those horrible, horrible like things where
Game
again can't
breaking.
see the person in front of
Yeah.
me, or like you had where the guy with the downed icon like kills you and then gets back up and whatnot. So and again, maybe they're saving those big problems for when they can actually nail down the root cause, which could be the tech coming in, or maybe the tech coming in could fix it, and they're just not wanting to develop those resources. But I think
Mm-hmm.
communicating that would be huge, definitely,
Yeah, for
especially
sure.
since where we're coming up on with milestones.
Yeah, and did we have a patch watch this week? I don't know if we did. If we
I
did,
don't
it
think
might have
so.
been the one that showed all the bugs. I think that was last week. I think this is a good opportunity to be like, patch watch. Yeah, this is what we're doing, and this is how it's going, and yeah, because the fact that we're having this podcast in the first place is the problem,
Hmm.
right? And maybe they haven't gathered all the information yet, whatever. But at some point very soon, they really, really need to just communicate how these tests are going, why they're doing them more, maybe make it more clear than just one Spectrum post. And yeah, I think it would just really probably time for CIG to just open up a little bit and kind of let us peek in and share how it's going and what are the positives and what are the negatives and where they kind of maybe want to go with it.
Yeah, I think one thing that I've always been a advocate for on Spectrum was in the patch watch notes, and this is the other. You know how we have like the known bug spot. I've always wanted to have a reasoning for the known bugs but not fixed thing. Just literally like a little thing in parentheses saying, we're hoping that X thing fixes it. We're just gonna wait on devoting resources, or yes,
Yeah.
like we're aware of it and
Don't you think it
we
would just make it
yeah.
really long then? And
I mean, it's a Spectrum post. That's kind of what the point of it. I mean, it only has to be a single sentence of just the known issues, saying not only did we know about it, but here's why we're still seeing this old one, or here's the attempted fix, or we think we're gonna get it in the next PTU,
mm-hmm.
or whatever. Just little blurb.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I am with the PTU and large servers, man. I
All
got
right,
nothing
bro.
else.
All right. Yeah. I mean, again, these are going to be pretty short calls. It's not like this super in depth, discussing gameplay kind of things, but it's still this is the thing that matters at the moment because they haven't really added too much new gameplay, and this is like the new thing that's happening, and it's definitely having positive experiences and some negative ones. So it'd be cool to hear what everyone's experiences are, and not just um, take my own as everything. So yeah, thank you, Gold.
Yeah, see you, man. Good time being on again.
Awesome. Yeah, good to have you again. Appreciate it.
I'll see you around.
Bye bye now. Our next caller is PR Dude. What's up, dude? Can you hear me? PR? Oh, we got a camera. Hey. I can see you. I can't hear you though. No voice. Do you want me to I'll pop you up into next in line, and then we'll have a mod come in and check your mic, and we'll get it all worked out. I'll bring in the next caller for a moment, okay? All right, let's bring in Virgil real quick.
Oh my god, I forgot I was in the queue. Yo.
Did you fall asleep?
Oh no, I forgot I was gonna be on here. If I
Yeah, well, if his mic didn't work, he probably would have backed out. But so let's get a mod in here if one of you guys can help and work on PR Dude's mic, and then we'll do a quick one with you, Virgil, real quick.
Yeah.
So you and I have gone back and forth a lot about this. I was just like, this is a bad idea at first, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But then, obviously, I think you watched the stream yesterday, and it was not that bad. It was actually pretty fun. And
yeah, I think it's like, I think there's two different type of people that enjoy it. Well, probably three actually. One, which is like the scripted content creators that are doing like the Rexzilla thing, right? And like, I don't blame them for doing it. Like, they were always going to do it.
No, not at all.
Do it the next time it gets to another hurdle anyway. But and then there's the other two types of people that play this game. One, which are the people that really lean into the multiplayer aspect, which is like the content for them is the other players in the server. Whether that's like bounty hunting, if you're like Zero Suit or Captain Bergs, like they just hop servers bounty hunting people. Or like, maybe if you're in like B-Berry's group on the other side of that, which is like you just like to go around with a crime stat, and fight people. And so those players benefit from there being more people in the instance. I'm one of those players too, right? Like my content's like, playing against the community. It's not so much, fighting NPCs and stuff. So what you've got is people that are complaining because they'd prefer better performance, and the player count not to move because they're only using the multiplayer aspect to get their friends to play alongside them. But aside from that, they don't much care for it. And then like I said, which is the other side of that coin, which is more so PvPers and people that like to do large group activities. But I think it's a net positive because you now have almost 3 times a chance to run into players organically. Whether that's bunkers, meeting people at the new racetrack, like bounty hunting, people, So there's a lot more player interaction, which is the biggest thing that's been hurting. And I've seen you complain about it on your stream, right? It's like it feels like a ghost town. Like the server might be full, but you'll see maybe 2 players every few hours. Like I haven't even been able to log into the PU unless there's events. And that's just because I lean on needing to find players for content. And the problem is they would nerf these like hotspots all the time, right? Like Portolissa Grimhex used to be the hotspot, and then the hangers came in, and so the frames were really bad, and so people left there and they went to Portolissa. And then Portolissa got nerfed, and they created all these other locations like Orison and stuff that the community and like all the players spread across Stanton so far, that you never ran into anyone. and that's the problem with it right now. And so now it kind of feels like it's filling up the Verse or Stanton with actually enough players to justify all these locations, right? Because they're building Stanton to, for hundreds of players to occupy, but we've only ever been able to fit in 50. So, but I guess the problem is, and I don't know this, maybe you can answer this for me, but when the patch first came out before they added the player count, was the performance like way up? Like, do we know what servers with small player caps look like right now? Are they running really great? And then when you get the other 70 players in, does performance go out the window? Maybe someone from chat can mention that.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't think we could take like their word for it. Like that's the thing here is like, is anybody actually doing the proper like scientific experiment to determine if this is a good idea or not? The only people that have right, the only people that have this information is CIG, and that's like that's what I was mentioning before with the last caller is the I feel like the issue here with a lot of things is CIG or the players don't trust CIG to make the right decision. But in reality, they're the people with all the information, and you don't have the right information. Not you specifically, but all of us don't.
Yeah.
And how can we base the decisions off of our anecdotes? We can't. They have our anecdotes and the actual facts. So the thing that I wanted to pose to you, though, is can we go back from this? Can we go back to 50-player servers after this?
No, not me. Like...
Yeah.
But I've been off the train. I don't play the PU until events happen anyway. Like, so, but no, you've spoiled us too much. Like, yeah, we've all seen what it's like. And I think it's going to be almost impossible for them to go back. Even if you look at the like feedback threads, it's like, why is this not staying? Yeah. And I think it should, like what number they settle on, I don't know, but a lot of this too for me is like, I didn't think they had this in them too. Like, and I've mentioned this to you in DMs, I think we said, like, for me, this was the greatest fear, right? Was that this game never played multiplayer well, right? Like they could get the artwork in, the ships looked great, they could, tune and program every thruster, they could do all these things, but the one thing they could never do was player count. And like, they've just opened the floodgates in regards to that now. So, it's impressive. I think the future's really bright for this game. Like, and you keep telling me I'm on copium.
I mean, I think you are, because you like the thing that here's the thing is, guys, Virgil would start going off on like these crazy tangents of not just like the current experience, but he's like, imagine, like literally every sentence would start out with imagine, and you're just like, all right, dude. Set scene. We're at Daymar, and and it's just like, shut up. Like, no, none of that is a thing still, but at the same time, like, I totally see where it's coming from, right? Like, that is a picture of Virgil right there. That's actually him in real life.
I'm dying.
Yeah.
Oh god.
So it was
like, for me, it's the player events and stuff. Like, I think that's gonna be where you see it. But like, you're right? It's gotta be organic. Like, they can't just do this because streamers are having 120 player battles, right? Like, we have to benefit from it organically on every server. And I think you're gonna see what this game's supposed to look like when you start applying this player count, if they can even do it to those events. I haven't seen Siege of Orison with 120 player caps, but I imagine it's
well,
madness.
We're not going
Have you
to.
Seen it yet?
We're not going to. So
because they lower it for the event, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So if you guys look at the most recent patch notes, they're saying, all right, we're testing 120 player servers, but Siege of Orison is going to be 75 or 85. So do you think there's a little? Well, hold on. There's a little insight into some of the positives that we've talked about, but there's clearly some negatives around an entire FPS based mission. So this could be related to FPS AI. This could be related to the FPS between players and so on. That there's clearly drawbacks here, and they're not
I wonder
even.
if they're
They're
pulling
taking
it back.
40 players out, 50 players out.
I wonder if it's like a trigger, right? Like as the events come globally, the player count drops. You know what I mean? And then when that event's over, then it lifts back up to 120 or something. You know, like that.
Maybe.
I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
But what I want to see, right, is like, and one of the struggles I have is like, if you ever fight like in like the gameplay in the PU I've had like the last year's just been Jump Town, really.
Essentially,
But,
yeah.
like,
I mean, like most of us.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And one of the struggles is that you couldn't fit all your friends into a 50-man server. Like you'd go to find like a big org in one server, and then you'd be lucky to find like you'd be sharing for 15 slots with random players.
Yeah, like
Now,
I
some of
remember
these-
when we wanted to group up together with like some of my other content creator friends like Burks and Rick and Zero and stuff. We had to limit. It was like some Among Us lobby shit where people had to be left out because you wanted to allow the server to have enough people to actually fight against.
Yeah. Otherwise, you just occupy it. Yeah.
Exactly. And then it's just boring, you know? Then you're just taking boxes and you're conga lining with your friends. And that's not really what we wanted. So it's interesting that the higher player cap, you know, you may not get 50 on 50 at Jumptown, but you certainly should have more. You can bring more of your friends and have more people to go against. Should be said.
And it's hard to fill a server. Like I watch Burks a lot, and you know he struggles to get to 120 players now. Like the third day running, you know, it's harder and harder to fill those groups.
Yeah,
and
because
so
it's not
the
big epic event anymore. It's a daily thing. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. Yeah, and so and which is a great thing, I think, because you know some of these groups. These organizations like Test, for example, that go in and they'll jam up a server with 50. They don't ever play with the rest of the community because they can never fit anyone else in the community into the same server as them anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it's really great for organizations and like, you know, events that are going to grow to that kind of scale. And I think, you know, it opens up all kinds of things like what does ship viability look like when you're talking about, you know, groups fighting that are bigger than 50 players versus each other? You know what I mean? Like it changes a lot of things, you know, and you know, how do you fit this many people into Siege of Orison? You know, how well do stations hold up and distribute hangars with players and stuff, right? Like what's Lawville gonna look like when everyone's trying to get on the tram, you know, and get out of there with these player counts? Are the hospitals going to jam up? You know, and that's probably why they've been extending like Grimhex and stuff.
Yeah,
to have more beds. But
a lot.
It's
more
going to
beds.
be it's going to be interesting to see like how this all works. But I think the biggest thing to take away from this is it'd be really neat if between now and the end of the year when we start getting to the server meshing stuff, if they did throw us a bone and were like, here, like enjoy 100 player servers. You know, there should be a bit more lively, bit more potential there. It doesn't change anything drastically, but you know, there's more meat on the bones there. And you know, have fun with that until meshing comes out.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm in the chat, but yeah, sorry. And yeah, I think it's a good thing. I don't think there's much downside to this. It's only upside as long as it doesn't come at the cost of performance. Like we don't want to discover all this, you know, headroom for performance and then just spend it on players. Like,
well, do you
nice
consider
for AI to work and stuff?
Do you consider like the
Go ahead.
FPS desync problem performance?
I don't think so. I think they got a bigger problem on their hands. And I
think
say
you're
that
right, but
because, I think that they've always had this issue where they can't get good sync on FPS stuff as well as good sync on spaceships. I don't think they've ever had both of those working together. And I think that's like been one of their core problems. And I don't think it's gonna. I don't think even if the player count was lowered or anything, they're gonna speed that up. But I also think that they're gonna at some point have to settle for
Yeah.
You can't you're not gonna get perfect sync in an MMO like this ever.
No,
So at some
especially
point
when
they're gonna have to settle.
like, dude,
Go ahead.
I'm a guy who lives in the United States but starts playing video games at 7 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to interact with people, if we're not region locked, we're gonna come across people with crazy pings and all sorts of shit. So it's
It's not. Yeah, and at some point we're gonna have to deal with it.
yeah.
In Tarkov, the AI are really bad. They're really desyncy too. It's not just a Star Citizen problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but the point is I love the player caps. It blows my mind that they do it. It gives me a lot of hopium because that's where all my doubt came from.
Yep.
They were
we've had
starting to
those
tick
discussions.
every box. Yeah, who, man, if we were to talk about, hey, imagine the player cap being at 100. If we were to bring that up last podcast, we would have been laughing.
Yeah, exactly.
You would have been giving me shit about being on copium and stuff, right? And now it's actually here, and we're like, wow, that's a reality. So
yeah, man.
But that's all I wanted to hit. Really, it's just the future's bright for this game. I think it really is.
I hope you're right. We had a long rant today on a different topic about why I think it's not, and what it needs to be
For me,
to be there. But yeah,
I don't want to. I don't want to hit on that because that would be the terrible.
No, I think it's a whole nother podcast, and it would be a lot of fun.
I think that this player count was and meshing are the huge hurdles.
Yeah,
and I think the concerns you've got are the they're obviously going to get to that.
They're post these things.
That's what it is for me, right? Is it's not that I feel like we're finally there or anything. I just feel like the rest is easy. That's what it is for me. That's this patch is. The player count is. Oh, look, they can do the hard stuff. The rest is cake.
The rest is easy. Yeah, CIG, Star Citizen. The rest is easy. Okay, brother. Okay, brother. Now it's time to send you to the caller dump. He's overdosed. He's overdosed.
Good night. I'll talk to you later.
Good night, Virgil. Enjoy the Grand Prix because that's starting or just started, I believe. All right, let's get PR Dude in here. Hey, PR Dude.
Hello.
Hey, I hear you.
Yep, we fixed it.
Nice. All right, so now that you're in, and there's the cam. Not many people turn on cam, so that's pretty awesome. Appreciate it. Yeah. What's your experiences so far, and do you like it? Do you not like it? Good, bad, ugly?
What the
100-player servers
count?
Yeah.
Oh well, you brought up an interesting thing that I didn't think about, which was the concept of them trying this new way of handling the server, which is 100 people in an instance and not spooling as many virtual machines.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool, I guess, if that's their goal.
I'll try and find the link for it while you're talking now.
Yeah. And I happen to I'm preoccupied. Well, I'm overwhelmed with the Jeff Goldblum quote from Jurassic Park, which is they were so preoccupied with whether they could, they didn't stop to think whether they should.
Yeah. All right, here, I'll read the quote from Jake. Hey, all, just wanted to clarify that we're doing a test on our servers, in this case, to profile them under a different workload levels in order to assess areas of new possible gain and remaining bottlenecks after recent optimizations in 3.17.2. We do tests like these with varying player counts on the PTU, occasionally weed out issues we may not see otherwise, and for other performance measuring reasons. While we eventually will, we're not planning on increasing the player count on the live servers with Alpha 3.17.2. Maybe he mentioned the virtual machine thing on Discord or something. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm new to Star Citizen, but I mean I've been watching it closely since the very beginning, because I mean, I was just like everyone else. I was like, whoa, you can kickstart a game. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And I was an Elite Dangerous player.
Okay.
And I just love, like, I'm such a boring player. Like, I like doing trade missions. Like, I
Okay.
just like the economy of a game. I
I'm the
imagine
same.
that, like if I got to space, I would just be doing what I'm doing in life. You know, every once in a while I'd be stopping at like a Subway, getting a sandwich, and nothing, you know, nothing really, nothing like really crazy to write home about. You know, I would be like the most boring pirate. And my concern is, I have a lot of faith and I hope for Star Citizen. I want it to become, something great. And my hope is on the core play, the missions, the quality of the missions, how, like, the importance of them, whether, how connected are we going to feel with our reputation and with our actual player.
Have you
Or
had worse experiences with more players since on those missions and stuff?
yeah, I mean, I love bugs. I still play Fallout 4 on my PC because I just love bugs. I just, they crack me up. It feels like you're in a Benny Hill video.
PR
You
dude,
know,
you're in
yeah,
the right place. You found the game for you.
right. But when it comes to the lag and the desync, oh, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. It is. I'm a chain smoker, and I swear I've upped my packs. Like, just Star Citizen is like eating into my budget, and more than any other game. I just want, you guys are, it's to answer the question whether it's good or bad. Um, it's going to come down to performance and the quality of the gameplay itself. Once they continue to hammer those things out, because it will be cool. Like, it will be cool to see large scale battles. Like, what would be awesome is, like, I got my coffee, I got my cigarette. It's Sunday morning. Like, right now it's Sunday morning. I log in. I'm gonna do some trade routes, and um, I have to, like, fly around a combat zone. You know,
Mm,
because you're, even if you're not on a side, you might get hit by shrapnel or whatever.
yeah.
So you got to, like, plan accordingly, and that's the tedious nuances that, like, I want to see in the gameplay, where it's a lot more immersive of a world.
I mean, I
What kind
guess they
of
could do that with NPCs, but it's certainly a lot cooler if there's more players around that you have to avoid then, right?
Yeah, because I want to see people being like pirates and stuff, but like the Firefly version where there's like a morality amongst some people.
Good luck with
Um,
that on the internet.
right, exactly. But I would love to see people be like sort of cliche pirates, where they're not trying to troll you, and it's not about, like, upping you. It's more like, yeah, you have cargo. I want to, I'm in your way.
Well,
Every
we're getting a little off topic, but I'll if you haven't heard of them yet, go on
Yeah,
YouTube and look up Mongrel Squad. Have you
Mongrel
seen their
Squad.
their YouTube videos? That
No.
they make YouTube videos of exactly what you're looking for, and you'll probably be watching these all day after. They're pretty cool. Don't watch the more recent ones because piracy has been a little bit more difficult for them. Go back to some old
Right.
stuff. It's really really cool.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, do you
Yeah,
have
and
anything
and
else on
but
like the 100-player server
well,
stuff?
that's the, I say, if you can handle 200, do it. As long as there's the content to back it up and the performance is there.
Yeah, true, true.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Well, thank you, PR dude. Enjoy your trade runs.
All right, thanks, man.
And hopefully you don't get pirated too hard. Only moral
I hope not.
pirates.
Moral pirates.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. Be
Disney
good.
pirates. See
Yes.
ya.
Have a good one, buddy. Bye now.
Later.
Our next one is Rat Scarlet B. I wasn't totally ready for you, so let me get your thing up there. But I specifically asked Scarlet to come on today because I know the type of player and the type of content that Scarlet does and makes. Scarlet, can you hear me, by the way? I haven't heard you yet. Oh, your mic too? Shit. What's going on today? Let me pop you out. I don't know what's going on with everybody today, but it's just not working for some reason. Very, very frustrating. Sorry, guys. Mods, today we're struggling. I'm sorry. Can we help Scarlet out? I'm sure we'll be able to fix Scarlet quite quickly because we know what fixed PR dude. So I'll preface Scarlet a little bit if we can pop in and try and help him out. I'm so sorry, guys, but I'll preface Scarlet. What Scarlet does is he's a PKer. That's my experience with him, but he's looking to interact with players as much as possible and find players. And who has been in my chat more than everybody saying, wow, like this game is really boring right now with that in 3.17.1, Scarlet, like talking about literal days, possibly like even a week without finding a single person. And then we started talking yesterday about his experiences really, really improving. Yeah, PK equals player killer, by the way. And that's why I was like, okay, well, now that I'm hearing your experience is improving, I really want to hear what you have to say, because we have my kind of spectrum of the game, which is I pretty much just like kind of play missions, gain rep, cargo haul, mine. I'm doing a little more player bounty hunting and trying to interact with players more. And overall, I thought my experience would be bad. It was relatively good. I want to hear experiences on the piracy side. I want to hear experiences on people just generally doing missions, cargo side, all those things, because I'm worried that if we don't hit every aspect, that we might kind of miss something here. How's it going with Scarlet, guys? It seems like they're still talking with him, so I'll talk a little bit more. I hope I'm not stealing any of the other callers, but idea. The one thing that nobody's said yet is with 100 players in a server, are we going to run out of missions? Are we going to have, like, what are the edge cases here? If you've ever had experiences, there's usually only a certain number of missions available at any given time. And sometimes it's kind of hard to find certain missions sometimes. And yeah, I thought that was one thing that was like, could possibly be an edge case. Like, man, I can't find the Red Wind delivery missions, or, oh, there's no bunker missions available right now, or bounties, I can't do any of them, right? So I kind of haven't seen that, and I wonder if if that's actually what's happening, or if we're having a situation where it's the idea of oh yeah, we're interacting with more people at those locations. So yeah. But I'm seeing chat saying they're finding people at multiple mission spots. I'm seeing the same experience. So in general, yeah, it's interesting. All right, Rick has popped out, so I think Scarlet is ready to go. Test, Scarlet. Can I hear you?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hey, okay, you couldn't hear me either, eh?
Oh no, I was here. Yeah, I'm just. There was some input thing on the Discord.
Okay. Well, I guess what I'll do is anybody who's in the queue, make sure you check your inputs and that they're correct. And if not, I know we have Zeus and we have Rick here. There's 2 more callers left. We'll lock it there. If you guys can pop in and just test those guys so we don't run through this again before we go. And then, yeah, I apologize. I usually don't ask my mods to do too much, but today, for some reason, I got a lot on them. But I gave you a little preview, Scarlet, but you have the floor now. What's your experience has been? They sound very positive from our discussion yesterday, and that's why I asked you to come on.
Yeah, I mean, I will agree with what Burial said, that this is gonna mostly benefit certain like format of gameplay, like
Absolutely.
the people that like to like PvP a lot, like looking for fights, is gonna encounter more people.
And to the opposite, the people who cry about those things a lot, they're going to be crying a
we're
lot
gonna
more.
we're gonna see more Spectrum threat for sure about
Yeah,
griefing.
yeah. Yes. Yes, sir. The griefer Spectrum threads. I believe I was called a griefer yesterday, from what I heard.
Yeah, like bounty hunting is gonna benefit a lot.
Mm-hmm.
People with bounties also, and in general, I didn't. It was very hard to me, especially at the beginning of like the debate, like with all the player base, like issues, even in the early like 100 player cap test, issue that I can like put the guilt on the 100 player cap
Okay.
because like most of those issues already exist
Exactly.
and are for other reasons.
Yeah,
So
like are we basically, it just comes down to this. Our people are like, as long as it doesn't affect the performance, but the current experience that we've had before, not very good in the first place. So do the benefits outweigh the negatives? And it so far seems like the negatives are maybe slightly enhanced versions of the problems that we already had, but then you get these like buffs and benefits that are a lot better than I thought they would be. I would have thought you take a 50 player server, you don't find anybody at all, and you make it 100, and you might occasionally, very rarely, find somebody, but it's been quite the opposite.
yeah, for me it's cool because like I like to RP a lot. Like I do mostly like crime
Yep.
on the game, like not just killing players. I like to like design ways of like assaulting them and robbing them and etc. So most of these
Like
tests,
Greasy got me the other day.
yeah, exactly, like develop like weird stuff that people will not expect.
Yeah.
And I have been playing a lot with Crime Tattoo, like I'm doing these criminal activities, but generally the gameplay or the format that I want to play has not been like improved. I'm talking about like specifically with piracy has not
Mhm.
improved that much because like either way like trading is still like very dead and I don't enjoy too much like hunt for miners because what I look is like people to raid their ships and board them, but that still with 100 player cap, it's not there. It's like
Yeah.
people just looting, and it's not like juicy targets that
Yeah.
I'm like looking for.
What does the
But
juicy target
either
look like?
I don't know, like a guy on ArcCorp like trading maybe laranite, titanium, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like it's very hard to find still.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in generally, like for example, it was like yesterday. I don't remember. Like I went to jail because like I was just roaming around Prorizar.
Uh-huh.
Go to jail, and I since I know how to smuggle guns in jail, I go to jail and I find like 6 people in jail, and I start to sell them guns. And one of these guys is like 0 threats, and I end up escaping from jail with 0 threat.
Okay.
Like things that you will not normally expect
Yeah.
happens more often in any random server. Like organically, things more happen.
Yeah.
Like SPK, like full of people all the time. So in that point, like I can mess around with more people, which is gonna be like a upgrade, and probably gonna benefit a lot from it and enjoy it a lot. But still, like they could upgrade the servers like 200, but that's not gonna solve the main issue. That is like the netcode and the tick rate.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're still not going beyond 10 tick rate. Like
Yeah.
this is still very low, and that way we still have and will have the dissing issue that we have.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why it's like, all right, it's going to be there anyway. So we might as like, it just comes down to it's basically the choice that everybody has to make. Do you want more player interaction, or and are you willing to trade that off for a little bit more desync, a little bit more issues? And it sounds like a majority of the people are, and it is what it is, I guess. I just hope that there aren't. Okay. I remember what I was going to say, and I actually forgot and just continued on to another subject when we were waiting with you with your mic. One thing nobody's brought up yet. We're still in the PTU. Live servers typically worse than PTU servers.
Yeah, I was to go about that. Like,
Yeah.
normally, historically, you don't see the real patch until like 1 week or 2 weeks before the patch was launched. Like, historically, everybody's like super positive about the new patch, but every patch after 2 weeks, like, it degrades immensely. Like, immensely, and it's like untolerable. It happens every patch. So still, it's like too early to tell like we need or we should go with 400 or 100 because we don't know what are gonna be the effects on long term.
Yeah.
Like, even with 50 players long term, like second month, everybody just is screaming for the next patch.
Yeah.
Because like dynamic events, everything like piles up and downgrade the servers to a point where it's unplayable, and all the systems start to break, even with like 10 people on the server.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've heard is that, believe it or not, once the server cap goes past 10 players is when you start to see issues. But then they don't seem to get significantly worse after that. They just are just generally bad. So it's they got a whole nother thing on their plate that is probably not related to player count too much, but yeah. So
yeah, but definitely the game like feels more like an MMO. Like, it's cool to like, it's gonna benefit a lot like the new player, like the new player that are still playing PU right now.
Yeah,
like it's gonna get more opportunities to play with like more experienced people too.
Yeah,
so
for sure. And
that's gonna
just
be a plus.
100%. And just interacting with other players in a game that doesn't have any real too many game elements in it, right? There's a lot of problems with Star Citizen in terms of its development and what's missing. And what isn't missing is that when VoIP is working for everybody, player interactions are really, really good. They just are. It's one of the best parts of the game. However, whatever interaction you have is good. So more opportunities for that is just going to be more opportunities for new players to really enjoy the game, I think.
Yeah, anything beyond 50 is just gonna be nice.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I was completely against this to start the week, but the more and more I've seen it, talked to people, just seems better. But all right, Scarlett, I'll ask the same question to you. Can you go back to 50?
Yeah, I guess like I said, like what I do, it didn't got like, and like my gameplay, like what I like to do, it didn't change at all. Like it's the same still. So I'm good like with wherever.
Just more
I hope
opportunity.
they fix jail though, because I have been getting my ass handed in PTU by like arena commander players, and I have been going to jail a lot, and I lose my mobiGlas every time. So I hope that gets fixed, because probably I'm gonna spend a lot of time in jail.
You hear that, Luke and Elliot? We got to fix jail, because now that there's actually players in the server, criminals are getting sent there way more often, not too often, but
yeah, just that, man.
All right, bro. I guess we'll let you go, Scarlett. Enjoy your gun running in jail.
I
Later,
will.
my dude. Thanks for coming on. All right, Jap Hero is next. Jap Hero, hello. Test.
Hello.
Oh, okay. Whew. I thought we had the same problem. How's it going?
I can hear you in Discord now.
Awesome. So your experiences with 100-player server plus, good, bad, ugly? Do we like it?
Pretty good.
Okay.
I know I'm in an org, and they ran a PvP event in PTU. It went pretty well. There were some invisible players, but it went pretty well. And I think at least I'm all my things I do is just org based and I'm in a pretty big org, so that's what I do. And 100 player servers are really good for that, at least.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think the invisible player thing was already a problem anyway. So yeah, like we do have to look at this and go, yeah, these things were already a problem. Obviously, the more people we bring in, the more often you will see those problems. It doesn't necessarily mean the problem is a symptom of having more players in, right? So
Yeah.
I like you mentioning that amount of people. I don't consider that an issue. It's something else separately they would need to fix, most likely, of course.
Yeah, the more players you have, the more issues you'll see.
Yeah. And I think those scenarios, like the one thing that I was freaking out about is the scenarios that you bring up are exactly where people are missing the. Oh, I didn't put your name up. I'm sorry. I wrote it in, but never put it up there. My apologies. I think people are kind of getting filled and excited about the change and not if we're all in one area, if everybody's in one area, typically the server is not being as weighed down as it would be if everybody was in different areas. That's basically how they've explained it to us. And I think that's what I was worried about was that, okay, my first experience with it was joining Captain Burks' first 100 player battle. It was epic. It was awesome. But then I came to realize, wait, we're all in one area. We're not spread across. What sort of server degradation are we going to have? But over the week, when people have just been playing on these 100-player servers, that really doesn't seem to be as big of an issue as I expected it to be. So I've kind of changed my tune on that a bit. And I was worried, like, the guys with your experience were, screaming really loudly how epic everything was and not hearing, the value of everyone else.
Yeah. I mean, I think absolute dispersion and absolute concentration, whatever that is. And with everyone concentrated, if it still works, then the rest of the server shouldn't feel that much of an issue with it. I mean, if it works in the concentrated area where I think the most issues would be, I'm assuming. Yeah. And if it works there, it should work in the rest of the server as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just it's just better. I don't know what else to say. It's just better. And I don't know the reasons. I'm not a game developer. I'm not engine developer. I don't understand any of this crap. And it doesn't matter. It just comes down to our experience is better. My only concern is that the live servers are always worse.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to be like high on copium. This is super awesome in the PTU. And then it'll go live and it'll be a bad thing. But in the end, they can just go back to the way it was and it'll probably be just fine.
Maybe they can find like a middle way, like 75 players or something like that.
Could be. I mean, they're going to test in, I think, about 3 hours, the Siege of Orson with about 75, 85, and we'll see how that goes too.
Yeah. I know if the NPCs are totally frozen, that might be an issue because then there's no point really. But if they work sort of, then it should be fine.
Yeah. Because they just work sort of now. So in the end, if it's if NPCs aren't very reactive, I mean, that's kind of the norm on a 50-player server as well, right? So that's kind of a whole separate issue that adding more player cap doesn't seem to make too much of a difference. But yeah, all right. Is there anything else that you want to add? Did you do any other gameplay or just the kind of PvP stuff with your org?
Just PvP. I mean, one more thing is that things like Jump Town, Ninetales, all that is going to be a lot better with 100-player servers. Because you have more people to fight with, bigger orgs can take over and still have opposition.
Yep, that's a big one. I really look forward to seeing what happens with that and partaking in it, really, for the first time. The first Jump Town I partook in, but I did it a little differently, where I was just kind of like solo trying to steal some boxes here and there. I really would love to partake in something a little larger scale this time around because I think it's actually worth and will be sick.
I know for my org, we did I think to keep it competitive and also efficiently. We had separate squads move into Jumptown with like 5 people.
Okay.
And then 5 people in the air, 5 people on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And that worked well, and we had opposition. But if we had just occupied the server, which we had done in the Jumptown before,
it's boring.
You wouldn't get much. It'd just be boring, and it would just be like, why am I doing this? I'm sitting here loading boxes.
Yeah, one ship comes in at a time, and then it becomes tractor beam gameplay. Not very exciting.
I mean, like I think even an organized org, like we had to end up destroying boxes and just leaving. Which is nice that you have people that can actually fight you and not just a one-sided slaughter fest.
For sure. I really like the idea of Siege of Orison, but I'm way more looking forward to Jumptown and how that ends up being. I'm just super scared that the FPS desync and all these problems are just going to ruin that. And it's possible, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, man. Oh, all right, Jep. Unless you got anything else, I'll probably pop you out, but it just sounded like you were done.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, cool. No problem. Thanks for popping on. First time, right?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for coming on. Hopefully we hear you soon on some other topics.
Okay.
Later, man.
See you.
All right, bye-bye. And then the tried and true Johnny Morgan doesn't miss an episode. What's up, dude?
I don't. Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
And you can hear me? You can
I
hear me
hear you
fine?
perfect. Yeah, we're not running into that issue with you today, which is great.
I was going to troll you a bit with that by doing on and off mic.
Oh,
And I was
thank
like,
God.
"Ah."
It's starting to freak me out. I'm like, this is happening with everyone. What the heck?
It's Russia, for sure. Hacking everything.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's CIG. It's CIG. They don't
Clearly.
They don't want us to talk about their tests in case they don't want people to get too excited.
Well, they're diverting gigahertz from the rest of the internet into Star Citizen right now, right? So that we can get that 100-player cap. It's the only way.
They're downloading more RAM.
I am actually downloading more RAM. That'd be fantastic. I am jazzed about it. It's a good topic to bring up. I was surprised, honestly. I was sitting more in your camp. I don't play the PTU much. I jump on to test a few things, like
I'm
just
surprised
to see
you were in my camp actually, because you love player interaction.
I do. I want the bigger size, but I expected the server performance to be trash because of it.
Yeah.
Very pleasantly surprised that it was not.
Yeah.
And I think that may be a testament to the work that they've been doing in the back end for a long time, and they've really, because they're moving to a cloud architecture, right? So it seems like that the game server itself that we recognize doesn't really, it's not tied to player cap as much as I expected it to be. So that's kind of nice. I was pleasantly surprised, and I hope we get bigger player caps because I do want them because of the interactions and from what Japier was saying too for orgs. Right, if you get 10 people together on a server right now, you're 1/5 of the server. You have 40 other people potentially to play with. Out of that 40, 20 of them are going to be mining, doing something else. You're down to basically another 10 people potentially, maybe 15 that you can go up against.
If they're not organized somewhat, it's not going to be fun either because 10 of you as one person comes in one at a time to Jumptown is just boring.
Here's the other thing that people haven't brought up though: big ships. The reason why big ships don't get taken out a lot is you cannot justify putting 6 people on a hammerhead when that's, almost 1/5 of a server right there.
Very good point.
7 technically, right?
Yeah.
Like it's too many people to dedicate to that ship. Bigger
Very good point.
We're talking a little bit more about, okay, maybe an A2 coming out more regularly because 3 people dedicating to it isn't a killer now, right? There's still 97 other people on the server, not 47 now. So I'm excited. Like a little bit. I don't want to get overhyped on it because I feel that there's probably another shoe to drop on the back end that we're not aware of. Or I think they were surprised that it ran as well as it did because they continued to test it. Right? They said, "Hey, we're done our thing," and now they're continuing to do it. So I like that. I really like that about CIG that they'll respond and like I know they can't be as agile maybe as we want, but sometimes you can see that loop going back and forth between the players and how they're experiencing it, and they get surprised by their own work. I think it's good. I would really like to see it.
Yeah.
I think the other guy, PR dude, talking about trading too and how a big battle going on, I thought that was a good point too. And that's potentially one way that they can pull him in. of those bigger battles, and let's say we have 500 people servers or whatever the cap ends up being, that they need for resupply and a way to tie them in and get him going in without actually having to engage in combat. Those type of things potential starts to happen. Like if we get the cargo transfer stuff in 3.18, it could potentially start happening organically where people are reaching out saying, hey, we need more supplies. But on a 50-person server, it's never going to happen because that one person will come in and they can't organize enough. There's not enough people to organize is really what the problem is.
Yeah.
And I think PvP would benefit from it because I think the other side will have the potential to get more organized and a little bit easier for people to get together and maybe pull in some randos to say, hey, come with me, people, right? And start thinking about asking that. I don't know, though. That's a hopeful on mine, probably a copium on that, but...
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I think PvP really is the main winner here. And, PvP has been losing out for a lot of years. So I think a bone
PvP
occasionally.
multiplayer.
Yeah,
I think multiplayer win big.
I think that was like the coolest point you made, and I didn't think of that at all, is there's so many times where it's just not worth taking out a certain ship because of the amount of people it would take to do it. And yeah, now that's not a thing.
I lose an entire fighter wing, and I can only have 12 guys on the server because otherwise, like, if we take 12, it's too many. So talking about Jump Town, right? Like, that was our problem.
Yep.
In my last video there, and it was great. Moist came out. It was a super fun day, best day ever. And, like, even at the end of it, we were dominating quite easily. And we were only 7 or 8, I think, at that. Like, it started with me and 2 other boys, and then it started ramping up, and we got lucky that we met a good opponent, and they weren't as organized as us, so it was hard for them to break through, but then they did continue to engage. It was great, right? It was a lot of fun. But on a 100-person server, that would have been different, right? When 20 or 25 people or 30 people show up to fight, and I've been in the 25 versus 25s, it's a different game altogether. It's super fun. Like, it's so chaotic. Everything's going on everywhere. There's small battles, big battles. It's really good, and that's what I want to see. That's my point on it. Like, if they can pull it off, 100% do it.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, Johnny, I think that's probably where we'll stop the pod for today. Unless you got anything else you want to add. Sounded like you were done.
Not really. Yeah, no. It's a clean one. Yeah, it's a clean topic too, right?
Yeah.
Me, so, yeah, and I'm
trying
not to divert.
No, it's okay. I think it's just good to hear everybody's point of view because I really had my narrow point of view and then started experiencing myself and talking to more people and hearing their experiences and going to the positives just outweigh the negatives here. In the end, I still believe CIG has all the information. We do not. And we need to trust them on this. And I think like some people were making comments about my trust comment towards them. And I say that because I don't think people would be yelling from the rooftops, making threads and all these things if they trusted them to make the right decision. I think that they're doing that because they don't. Right. And I trust them to make the right decision. I think they'll do whatever is best for them. And if it's going back to 50-player servers, what's best for them is going to cause a lot of anger, but it's what's best. If it's what's best, it's what's best. And hopefully they can just dynamically change those quite easily. It sounds like they can. And we'll see what happens.
For me, it's a small W there, and I jumped on specifically to bring up the multiplayer point because I hadn't seen anyone bring it up yet, and I thought it was a good one to bring in. And it's a small W for me because it shows that they at least have the tech to be able to do it, and they're moving forward. I'm happy. It's good. If they have to take some more time to do it right over, do it quick. I'm 100% behind that.
Yeah,
anyway,
for sure.
That was great, man.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you.
Cheers.
Bye. All right, guys. That's that. We were gonna bring in one more caller. I'm seeing but I didn't. Wait, it just disappeared. What happened to it? Oh, I don't know. I was going to respond to it and it just got deleted. Oh, here it is. Here's the topic related to larger servers that haven't been addressed. Morphologist's latest video with 120 people in the 890. If, say, someone like Virgil or myself shot a torpedo and it popped, would that be considered griefing or stream sniping? With the population changes more condensed servers, while stream snipes do happen, I think just because a streamer is streaming, he or she should not have a shield that could use to get someone banned. Okay, I don't think this is a topic at all, but I think maybe you're making the point that more streamers are going to complain that they're getting stream sniped just because they're coming across more people. I think that's more part of the larger topic that we discussed earlier, where you're going to see a lot more Spectrum threads of people complaining that they're getting griefed. Let's not use stream sniping here as an example, because guess what? If you went and found Morphologist because he was streaming, fired a torpedo at him, guess what? That is stream sniping. I'm sorry. It is what it is. If you organically came across him, of course not. It's hard to prove those things. Stream sniping is not the topic of today. It has nothing to do with anything. But in general, it's going to be really interesting to see how the Star Citizen player base, which is largely crybabies when they have to interact with other people, and those other people, I guess, dictate what is going to happen in that interaction, is going to be really interesting. Because I've been a victim of this stuff, and I've been the crybaby at times. And I'm really curious to see what is going to happen with this, because I think we're going to see a shift in the Star Citizen community. We talked a lot about this before the podcast today. Nobody really knows what Star Citizen is because they haven't really shared the high-level design of the game and what we're going to be doing on a day-in and day-out basis. We're going to see it slowly grow over time. They haven't told us what it's going to be. Most game companies come out and tell you what their game is going to be, and you decide whether or not you want to play it. Guys, every single one of us bought Star Citizen off of an idea, not a reality. And I think it's going to be really interesting as more and more people are forced to interact with each other. Are more and more people going to find out that this may not be the game for them? There's a lot of people in this community that when I see their Spectrum posts and see the things that they say, I go, wow, I'm not entirely sure this is the game for you. Now, I have been the advocate of there should be safe places. There should be safe systems. You should be able to just play the game without being impeded by too many other people, unless it's, some guy in VoIP yelling at you for whatever reason. I don't think you should or could avoid that. Obviously, you could just mute player voices and things. But in general, that possibility of PvP when you want to avoid it not being a thing, sorry guys, that's just part of the game and part of the game's design. And as the game grows, we're going to see more and more of it. So it should be interesting how the mentality of the Star Citizen community shifts throughout the growth of player servers and things like that. So I'll take what Morier said and kind of put a little twist on it and not take the stream sniping scenario. Nobody wants a bubble over them. That's just a stupid comment. I'm sorry. But the idea of players having to get used to this should be really, really interesting. And with that, guys, that'll take care of the podcast today. Thank you so much for all the people who called in. It was a really interesting show. I thought it obviously is a show that seems to have one point of view for the most part from people, and not too much of a negative experience with others. And we'll have to see what CIG does with it. But as always, guys, if you're watching on Twitch and you didn't catch the whole show, it'll be up on YouTube very soon. If you're watching on YouTube and you would like to take part in and answer the call, it'll be in the early morning Eastern time, usually between 9 a.m., 10 a.m. starts. And we're going to go for about an hour. That was my goal today. We're about an hour and 15 minutes. I think the podcasts have been entirely too long lately. Sometimes topics are really exciting, but I'm doing my best to kind of keep the calls short. Would love to hear some feedback on that. Anybody who's watching on YouTube, I do have a Discord, discord.gg/SaltEMike. At the very bottom of the Discord is #YouTube under the feedback section. I'd love to hear what you guys think about the podcast, YouTube videos that I've been doing, all sorts of things, because I'm trying to improve. Do you like the really long podcasts? Do you like them short? So on and so forth. I'm just trying to gauge what's going on there. And do you like the ones with guests? So on. I just whacked the microphone, put some feedback in there. I won't do that. So yeah, just let me know. And as always, the likes, the subscribes, the comments, all that stuff helps. And I'd love to hear from you guys down in the comment section. And using a Morphologist quote, civil conversation down in the comments. That would be cool, because that never happens. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next week.